Syria is a country located in Western Asia and a bordering countries such as Turkey, Iraq, and Jordan. According to UN, Syria is one of the countries with one of the largest hunger crises in the world, affecting approximately 33% of the population, and also reporting as one of the countries with the highest crime rate in the world, largely due to the civil war that has been going in the countryside in 2011. Approximately 250,000 Syrians have been killed in 4.5 years in the armed conflict, which began with protests against the Bashar government before escalating in the major civil war. More than 11 million other people have been forced to leave their home as force loyal to President Bashar al-Assad, and those opposed to his rule fight each other, as well as jihadist militants from the so-called Islamic State.
João 4382.
Pro-democracy protests started in March 2011 in the city of Dera, after the arrest and torture of some teenagers who painted the revolutionary slogan on a school wall. After security forces shot protesters, killing several people, more protesters took to the streets. The arrest sparked nationwide protest demanding President Assad's resignation. The government tried to use its force to crush the protesters, but to no avail. This only strengthened things. In July 2011, several talking to the streets across the country. Opposition supporters later started taking up arms, first to defend themselves and then to drive the security force out of their local areas. Violence escalated and the country entered a civil war where rebel brigades were formed to fight government forces through country offsides, towns and countrysides. Fight reached the capital Damascus and the second city of Aleppo in 2012. In June 2013, the UN revealed that 90,000 people had died in the conflict. In August 2015, death numbers fell and increased and reached 215,000, according to activities in the UN.
Rafael 441. A UN Commission has evidence that all parties to conflict have committed war crimes. Beijing murder, torture, rape, and forced disappearances. Also Beijing accused of using the suffering of civilians such as blocking access to food, water, and health services towards sites as a method of warfare. The UN Security Council has demanded that all sites and the misuse of weapons in populated areas, yet many civilians continue to die. Many were killed by bombs dropped by government aircraft on crowds in rebel-held areas. Attacks that the UN says can constitute massacres. It has also been accused by UN of waging a campaign of terror, inflicting various punishments on those who refused to accept its rules, including hundreds of public executions and amputations. Its soldiers have also carried out mass killings of rival armed groups, members of the security force and religious minorities, as well as beheaded hostages, including several Westernites.
Giovanni Brunati 6651.
Several people were killed in August of 2013 after rockets fired with sarin, a chemical weapons compound, were fired at several suburbs of Damascus. Western powers said this could only have been carried out by the Syrian government. However, the government blamed rebel forces. Faced with the prospect of US military intervention, President Assad agreed to the complete destruction of Syria's chemical weapons arsenal. The operation was completed the following year, but the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons (OPCW) continued to document the use of toxic chemicals in the conflict. Investigators found the chlorine was used systematically and repeatedly in deadly attacks in rebel-controlled areas between April and July of 2014.
Igor Meira Lima, 3837. More than 4.5 million people have fled Syria since 2011, with women and children as the majority. The neighbors, Lebanon, Jordan, and Turkey, have struggled to cope with one of the largest refugee exoduses in recent history. About 10% of Syria's refugees have sought safety in Europe, showing political divisions as a country argue over sharing the burden. Another 6.5 million people are internally displaced within Syria. 1.2 million were driven from their homes in 2015 alone. The UN says it will need 3.2 billion of dollars to help 13.5 million people, include 6 million children who will need some form of humanitarian assistance inside Syria in 2016. Around 70% of the population does not have access to adequate drinking water. 1 in 3 people cannot meet their basic food needs. More than 2 million children are out of the school, and 4 in 5 people live in poverty. The parties to the conflict have compounded the problems by refusing humanitarian agencies access to civilian need. Up to 4.5 million people in Syria live in hard-to-reach areas, including nearly 400,000 people in 15 besieged localizations who have no access to life-saving aid. In front of everything that has been said so far, we can conclude that with the wars, political or religious don't bring any positive point for the society, only do poverty, death, and hunger. With horrible data like the Syria, we have a way of thinking in the children with our privity of the basic education and basic food, in high data of death in local, the hyperinflation of disease in region, and we need to think too with we don't can continue provoke more wars, because with that we will destroy our planet or destroy all people.